Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Code Karen. Welcome to r/Am I the A-hole, where we have an incredible story with comments and updates. If you're new to this channel, a sub would be great. Let's jump to the story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife her parents are never allowed to watch our son again after they secretly had my son baptized without asking me? My wife and I have a 2-year-old son and have been married for 4 years. Our anniversary was a month ago, and we found a nice, secluded cabin on Airbnb and rented it out for a long weekend getaway. My wife asked her parents if they would be willing to watch our son, and they agreed, as long as we dropped him off at their house. That worked for us since it was on our way anyway. I was raised Lutheran and my wife was raised Catholic, but neither of us currently go to church and have not had our son baptized. My mother-in-law knows this and hates it. She thinks our son needs to be baptized or he will burn in hell. She's that kind of Catholic. So we go on our trip, and when we pick up our son and ask how the weekend went, mother-in-law says everything went fine and that she saved my son's soul from the devil. I asked her what she meant by that comment, and she said she had our son baptized that morning at her church. I tried my best to keep my cool, so I didn't scream at her in front of my son, but I pretty much grabbed my son and left. On the car ride home, I was fuming and told my wife as calmly as I could that this would be the last time her parents have our son unsupervised. She tried to downplay what her mom had done, but I told her we need to wait until we get home to talk about it because I'm not fighting in front of my kid. When we got home and had a chance to talk about it, things got heated. I told my wife I no longer trust her parents with our son, and that if they did something like this behind our backs, I can't trust him to respect our wishes as parents in the future. I said this was a huge breach of trust, and I will forever look at her mom differently. She continued to try to defend her mom, saying that she was only doing what she thought was best for her grandson. She even downplayed it by saying that it's just a little water and a few words, and we don't go to church anyway, so what does it matter? I told her that under no circumstances will I allow her parents to watch our son by themselves again. I said that we can still let them see their grandson, but only if we are present. I also said that if she doesn't see what the big deal is with this situation, that maybe we aren't on the same page as parents, and maybe we need to see a counselor. She started crying and said that this isn't the kind of decision I get to make on my own, and I'm an a-hole for trying to tell her what kind of relationship her parents can have with our son. I told her that I no longer have any trust or respect for her parents, and that I don't know if there's anything they can do to repair that. I told her I don't care that it makes me an a-hole, but what her parents did was unforgivable in my eyes, and they put themselves in this position to lose privileges with our son. My wife has been trying to convince me to change my mind for the last month, but I'm not budging. To me, this is a hill I'm willing to die on. Am I the a-hole because I feel so strongly about this? Query 8897 says, not the a-hole. That was a huge breach of trust. Nothing religious should be done unilaterally either by the parents or, in this case, grandparents. I do agree that counseling would be a good avenue for you both to get on the same page. Also, apparently you're an a-hole for telling her that her parents can no longer see your son unsupervised, but they aren't a-holes for the unauthorized baptism? What's up with that? Naran Gim says, not the a-hole. To your wife, letting her mother get away with something because she thought it was best for her grandson is a slippery slope. What if her mom decides it is best for your grandson to live with her during the weekend and you and your husband only see him on the weekends? Are you going to let her get away with that? It isn't her kid. She doesn't get to decide what's best. Only his parents do. Your mom crossed the no baptism boundary. If you let her get away with this, she will cross other boundaries you set up using the same argument of, it's what I think is best for my grandson. Broad Elderberry says, this is a tough one. On the one hand, your son is 2, so he likely won't remember or understand what happened. This isn't like the post yesterday where the mother-in-law told an 8-year-old that she would burn in hell if she didn't accept Jesus and let herself be baptized. However, putting a permanent ban on your mother-in-law is kind of extreme. That's your wife's mother. I think not the a-hole for being upset, and not the a-hole for not trusting your in-laws, but I think before you make any never/ever declarations, you need to explain to your mother-in-law that what she did wasn't okay, and that you're reconsidering how much you trust her with your son. Definitely also hit up the counseling. Your wife needs to understand that this is 10 out of 10 on the important scale for you, even though it's only a 3 out of 10 on the important scale for her. You also need to understand that it's very harsh to unilaterally ban your partner's parents from things, and to tell your partner that you have no respect for their parents is almost always going to sting, even if you're in the right. Shadows Observer says, going against the grain here apparently, But you are the a-hole. Was what your mother-in-law did wrong? A huge breach of trust? Or something to be discussed? Yes, absolutely. Did it physically hurt your child in any way? No. I get it's an issue with respecting your choices as parents, but you are the a-hole because you're now trying to make unilateral decisions about whether your partner's mother can see your child without considering your partner's feelings on the situation. She's right. You're an a-hole for trying to force this decision on her. This is something you and she need to agree upon, and you're telling her it's your way or the highway. And guess what? If she chooses the highway, your son is going to see your mother-in-law unsupervised, whether you like it or not. That one Personium says, everyone sucks here, so I agree with 95% of what you said. I think in almost all areas, you are completely correct. The only thing I think you're going a little extra on is the never can fix what they did part of it. You and your wife are a team. You need to be on the same page about this. But you going that strong on the never part of it is clearly too much for your wife. If her parents turn their behavior around and apologize, there needs to be a path towards reconciliation, or your wife will not be on your side. I'd rather get 90% of what I wanted with my wife on my team versus fight for 100% and be against her. This leads to resentment, secrets or lies, nothing good. Be willing to allow your in-laws to make amends. Make it clear what your expectations and boundaries are. Your comment about this being the hill I'm willing to die on is a little extra. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone who sent me supportive messages and advice. I never expected my post to get so much attention. Since many of you requested an update, here we go. Turns out some of you were right. My wife was in on it. I confronted her a couple days after I posted and asked her if she knew that her parents planned this. She broke down and confessed everything to me. My mother-in-law had been pestering her non-stop about baptizing our son, and my wife finally caved. My wife has been working from home during COVID, while my job requires me to go into the office. My wife and her mother started doing Zoom meetings with a priest to start the baptism process. They lied to the priest and told them that I was okay with baptizing our son, but I chose not to be involved. The priest allowed it, and they started doing online baptism classes while I was at work. My wife admitted that she planned it around our anniversary getaway, and that mother-in-law had somehow convinced the priest that her and father-in-law would be the only ones in attendance. My wife told me that I wasn't supposed to find out, but mother-in-law couldn't keep her mouth shut for even one day about it. Their intention was to keep this from me permanently. I did contact the church to let them know the truth. I talked with the priest, and he was surprisingly helpful. He said he would take the proper steps to make sure the mother-in-law is no longer welcome in their church and to reach out to the local parish to see what further steps need to be taken. I have yet to hear back from them on that. My wife and mother-in-law are mad that I got her kicked out of her church, but I don't care what they think or feel anymore. These people who I love and trust had betrayed me, and I felt a range of emotions I didn't know existed. My wife begged for forgiveness, but the fact that she didn't come clean on her own makes me feel she would have kept this from me unless I confronted her. She's willing to do therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I don't know if I want to put in that work. I feel like there's no coming back from this. I contacted a divorce lawyer and started discussing what a divorce would look like and if there's any way I could add provisions to a divorce agreement that would keep my in-laws from seeing my son unsupervised. He's been very helpful, but I have not given him the go-ahead to actually file for divorce yet. I feel I am still too angry about the entire thing to think rationally and want to give myself time to fully grasp what a divorce will mean for me and my family. My wife and I aren't talking much. I pretty much go to work, come home to play with my son, go to bed, and repeat. I don't know what the future is going to bring, but I do know that without the support and help from you, I don't think I would have the clarity I do now. Random Act of Random says, as someone who went through a divorce, I can confidently say to not make any decisions while angry. Give yourself as much time as needed to process and only make decisions then. Personally, cutting the mother-in-law out of your lives would be number one on my list to forgive her. It's almost a certain guarantee that your wife only did it to appease your mother. That doesn't take away her role in all of this, but there was external pressure. Anyways, good luck to you and hope that it works out for the best, whatever way that ends up being. Puddle Jumper says, to be the bearer of bad news, divorcing your wife will mean that she has even more control over your child's upbringing than if you stay together. She might decide to go full-on religious route and send him to a religious school or church every week, etc. Also, there's no way you would be able to ban her parents from seeing your child. Technically, they haven't done anything legally wrong. They baptized their grandson with the help and permission of his mother. Amal11 says, I'm so sorry that your wife betrayed you. It's really inexcusable at this level of deception. I hope that in time you heal and forgive for your son's sake, whether that is for good co-parenting or staying married. I would like to offer a possible point of view. I don't know your wife's childhood circumstances, but they don't sound great with a mother like that. It could be possible that your wife is in a fog, fear, obligation, and guilt cycle with her mother. We are still responsible for our actions, but when someone is in this cycle, it's hard not to choose to keep the peace or not to rock the boat. You were probably her safety net, and she chose to betray you so that she could appease her abuser/manipulator, whatever you want to call her mother. Again, inexcusable, but if any of this rings true, your wife needs help. It's so hard to break these cycles, and it won't be healthy for your son to be around it in any capacity, supervised or not. It could also be way off base and projecting, and if so, please ignore. Wishing you the best, and I hope you find happiness and peace, whatever your decision. Incomplete Circle says, I understand the lying aspect of it, which I strongly feel can be worked out in counseling, but the outrage here is odd to me. It was odd to me in the first post too. If you don't believe in it, which it appears you do not, baptism is moot. I was baptized Catholic. I'm in my mid-30s and haven't been a practicing Catholic, ever, but I stopped on my own officially when I was about 16. Being baptized has never prevented me from doing anything, and no one would know one way or another unless I told them. His life isn't committed to Catholicism. I get that you want to wait until he's older and let him decide. He can still do that. He still could have done that if he had been baptized as an infant. Your life is not committed to a religious choice your parents make for you when you are a newborn baby. Your son can choose to follow a particular religion or no religion, whatever he wants, when the time comes. I understand that you are upset, but you are being a little dramatic.